Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive into a different aspect of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter. It's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Boo.
And this week, we are not talking about a director, actor, genre, or franchise.
We're not.
We're talking about a year, because this is our...
Year in review.
That's right. This is the episode we do at the end of every year, where we look back on every episode we did, every guest we met, and every event we went to, and kind of round it all up.
And it's, for me, my most anticipated episode to record because it's just so much fun to recap the entire year. I don't know about you. You're probably still, David Lynch month was the best.
David Lynch month was good. I do have some thoughts on our favorite... Oh, Boo just dropped something.
I did, sorry.
I do have some thoughts on our favorite themes we did this month, or this year. That's going to be weird. It's a whole year past and gone.
It's hard to believe that it's over.
Yeah, I mean, this is our second or third full year.
This is our third. Because,
Well, it's our third year, but our first, year, technically, because we started in, October.
Of 2020, and yeah, so...
It's whatever. We were here a while.
Yeah, we've been around.
But yeah, so we have we have some big things that happened this year.
Yeah, lots.
Lots. Number one thing, this is our first year where we had multiple guests on.
Yeah. Do we have a number on how many guests we had this year?
We do. We had...
Or scratch that. Guest episodes.
Oh, guest episodes? It was about 22. We had about 22 guest episodes, and we've done a episode every week for the entire year.
Yeah.
Minus a few because of holidays and us being lazy. But basically, I think we still even averaged out to 60 episodes this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the holidays really kind of, slid in, but for the most part, yeah, we've been in studio predominantly all year.
Yeah, we got to record the majority of our episodes at Undercity Comics up in Whittier, California.
Shout out to Undercity.
Yep, come visit. They're really good people here. But yeah, so I guess where do you want to start? You want to give the shout outs to all of our guests this year, or do you want to start with our favorite films, the questions, answers, favorite month? Because there's a lot we got to go through. This was a long fucking year.
Yeah. There's a lot that we have on the docket today. I think maybe we should go with our favorite episodes of the year.
Our favorite episodes of 2023. So I don't know about you, because I did the same thing that I did last year, where I only counted movies that were new to me because of the podcast. Mm-hmm. But I feel my top two would still be number ones, even if I've seen them before, because they were really, really good. But yeah, I have my top five. Do you have your top five ready?
I have my top five ready. 4 out of the 5 are movies I've never seen before.
This is good to know.
And only one of them I have reasons. And because, yes, reasons. Reasons. I couldn't. I couldn't not pick this movie.
I understand. I do have some honorable mentions before we get into it. I'd like to shout out, oddly enough, these were all guest episodes. Dumbo, The Lobster, Under the Silver Lake, Onward, and Buck and the Preacher. Those were 5 of my favorite episodes we recorded this year. Mm-hmm. But those were all guest episodes, and I didn't want to rank them because I thought that'd be kind of weird. But those were all of them. Huge fans. Really liked all those episodes.
Okay.
But let's get into the top 5 episodes or movies we recorded in the year of 2023. So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is The Elephant Man.
Ooh, good pick. My favorite Lynch.
Your favorite Lynch, yeah. Our guest, Randy, was here for that. Brought the Bible out and everything. But yeah, I think that movie was the movie that made me feel the most this year.
Oh, really?
Just hit me in the feels.
I mean, it's one of those things where Lynch month was a little all over the place in terms of movies you liked and movies you engaged with. Mm-hmm. And also just some of our guests that month, because we had Yasmin, who hated the movie she was brought in on.
She didn't bring that. You corralled her into it.
We made her listen to Blue Velvet. We had Thomas, who absolutely adored the movie he came in on, Mulholland Drive. We did Wild at Heart, which we both ended up being kind of lukewarm on.
Which was surprising.
Yeah, but then Elephant Man, that was probably the one where Randy came in with the most like even keel, just kind of just rolled
Mhm.
onto that movie, and we both ended up really, really just like you guys really felt why I love that fucking movie. That movie's great.
And, again, if John had read, the Lord's Prayer, we all would have lost it.
If when he died and instead of them flying through space,
It was just the voiceover of him, reciting it. Oh, we would
though I
have lost
walk
it.
no, it starts with what is it? The Notorious B.I.G. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow, and it
God.
goes into the whole rap verse. It'd be great. But yeah, Elephant Man, you're number 5.
That was my number 5.
Strong pick.
What about you?
My number 5 was actually one of the first movies we did this year. It was in Bogart month. It is The Big Sleep.
Oh, I'm surprised.
I am a sucker for noir movies.
I know.
have always been. I thought Bogart and Bacall were great in that movie. I really understand why they had that on-screen chemistry that
Mhm.
really just like everyone got obsessed about. It's also one of those movies that I liked so much. I bought the book.
Yes, you did.
I read The Big Sleep this year, and the book doesn't make a whole lot much more sense than the movie, but I think that's why I love the movie so much. It was this perfect vibe that really encapsulated all the stuff I loved about noir filmmaking. Deep Shadows. We also get the the beautiful femme
The femme
fatales.
fatale.
You get like the hard-nosed detective, and it's Bogart kind of at the top of his game. I think Maltese Falcon is probably the better noir film,
Hmm.
but fuck, The Big Sleep was just so much fun.
And their chemistry is just, on point.
Oh yeah, that movie is dripping with sexual tension.
Yeah.
Really, really great film. But yeah, Big Sleep, Big Ups. That's my number 5.
I'm
of the
glad you
year.
liked that.
I'm glad I liked it too. I was a little cautious because that was, I think, the first episode we did a switch up, because I think it was originally Maltese Falcon, and you're like, we got to end it on Bacall and Bogey, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love Maltese Falcon, but there's just their chemistry is so undeniable. It's like we had to just sit there and watch these two not only love each other off screen, but just knock it out of the park with this movie.
Oh yeah, and for everyone, we are gonna get into some of the lost episodes of this year because there's a lot of them.
Oh yeah.
But that was my number 5. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie that I think we're both gonna have on our list.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of something that I wasn't expecting, and I love it so much. Ed Wood.
Oh, okay, that is on my list. It's a little higher than number 4.
I figured.
But yeah, what can you say of Ed Wood?
It broke my heart.
Is it Tim Burton's best movie? Is it Johnny Depp's best performance? Is it the best portrayal of Bela Lugosi on screen?
Oh God.
It's a movie that's kind of got a little bit of everything, and it's in love with filmmaking.
It is, and it destroyed me. But it mostly destroyed me that it took me so long to finally watch it.
Is every movie on your list gonna be like, this movie made me cry? That is why it's on this list.
Not every movie, but
Like 4 out of 5.
a few, a handful. But yeah, that's a great movie. We'll talk about it more once we get to where it landed on your list, so we can just kind of
Gush a little
yes,
bit.
because I feel like there's no way that we can't not gush about Ed Wood.
Also, Ed Wood holds the distinction of being our most difficult recorded episode of the entire year.
Do you want to talk about that more when we get right now, or when
We
we
can
get
talk
to your...
about it right now, because I guess I guess people kind of have probably picked up on it. We record some episodes out of order. Sometimes we
Mhm.
record episodes really early, or
Mhm.
sometimes we record them like right before release date.
Yeah.
Maybe not that close, but close to release date.
Yeah.
And Ed Wood was one of those movies where we got into the studio, we sat down, we did about an hour of an episode. Then we eventually were like, this is not a good episode. We scrapped the whole thing. We came back, re-recorded the entire thing again on a different day when
Yeah.
Dean had a full night's sleep and a black coffee, and it ended up being one of like our favorite episodes of the year. But yeah, so Ed Wood's your number 4. I am honestly surprised it's not higher.
Believe me, it was a struggle. This list has moved around a lot, but it's going to be a good time.
All
And
right.
and there's reasons.
There's reasons.
There's reasons.
Interesting.
What about you? What's your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie that stars your male ideal. The man
Is
you.
it Cary Grant?
It's Cary Grant. You believe he's the sexiest man in Hollywood.
Let's see, because we did 2 Cary Grant movies this year, but
We did The Awful Truth, and we did my fourth favorite movie of the year,
Arsenic and Old Lace.
Arsenic and Old Lace.
I had a feeling.
It is funny. It is a nice screwball comedy that has kind of a dark sense of humor. It's a movie that I am surprised every time I've seen it that, oh, this was made in the 30s. How the fuck did this get made during the Hays Code?
And you so want to steal the Criterion of this movie that you bought for me.
Oh, 100%. 100,000%. Also, this has a great supporting cast.
It does.
I love every actor in the movie. Also, Peter Lorre showing up, just playing the best slime ball. Oh, I love it. But yeah, it is a movie that I'm surprised at how much I liked it. This is one of those movies where honestly, I could definitely come back and rewatch this. I rewatched it in October.
You did?
Yeah, I think because we recorded that the month before in
September,
September,
yeah.
and then but when Halloween time came around, I rewatched it again. It was one of the few movies I rewatched this year. But
Interesting.
I really did like Arsenic and Old Lace. It is fun, it is fast, and it is that perfect blend of absolute insanity and Halloween elements that really fits in with the season. So I really dug Arsenic and Old Lace.
Well, I mean, you know what they say about the Brewsters, right?
They're all crazies.
No, insanity doesn't run in the family. It gallops.
Oh, cool. I only seen it like twice. All right, I'm still working on committing it to memory.
Wow, fake fan.
Hashtag fake fan. But speaking of fake fans, what is your number 3?
My number 3 was one of the movies that you mentioned in your honorable mentions.
Oh, really?
But this movie, I loved. It got to me. It's all about, some of my favorite things because I love living in Los Angeles.
Oh my God,
It's Under the Silver
it's
Lake.
Under the Silver Lake. Oh my Lord, that is.
I told you this list has changed, and it's just that movie had to be on here.
Okay, because I put in my honorable mentions, one, because I really liked the episode. I thought the episode was really good. But also because going in on that movie, I had no idea how I felt about it. That's one of those movies I've rewatched 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah, I rewatched it too.
Oh, you actually gave it the rewatch?
Yes, I told you I was so invested in this movie. And I mean, it was the perfect experience watching it late at night the first time, getting the shit scared out of me, and then just being kind of tired and just being like, yeah, I'm kind of living out the vibes of this movie where it's just, what the fuck is going on?
It is, the best way I can describe it, it's kind of like The Big Lebowski meets Mulholland Drive, and it's all...
And La La Land.
And yeah, and it's filtered through this La La Land love letter to Hollywood. Even though you feel like it kind of hates Hollywood, it is a fascinating movie.
It hates Silver Lake.
God, yes, it abhors Silver Lake. But yeah, really, Under the Silver Lake makes your number 3.
It does. I mean, there was just something special about that movie. And it was such a fun experience recording it with Alex. Thank you, Alex, for bringing that to us. Yeah, it was a blast.
I mean, I would say it was a blast. Because I remember when I watched it the first time, I'm like, is this movie a fucking shitpost or is this a masterpiece? And I watched it twice before the episode, and I'm like, okay, it's better the second time. It definitely moves better the second time. I guess it's a pretty good movie.
And I mean, I just watched it the once before we recorded, and I was like, I got it. I understand.
Well,
you were just like...
You watched it the one time, and you're just like, they made reference to Monroe and classic Hollywood. I'm in. This is a masterpiece.
I just understood. You were the one that was like, oh, boo, you're going to have to watch it 2 times. You're not going to get it. I'm like, what does he think? I'm stupid or something?
No, because the movie's weird as fuck. Don't try and act like the movie's not weird as fuck.
You put me through a month of David Lynch where I had to really cut through the tape and figure out what things meant.
And you loved Elephant Man.
I did. I mean, that was the most,
No, that is
non-Lynchian movie of that month.
That is a weird director when The Elephant Man is his most normal, like, easily accessible film. But Under the Silver Lake, that is a pretty solid pick at your number 3. I'm a little surprised Under the Silver Lake is even on your top 5.
I think you mean impressed.
I am impressed.
And jealous a little bit because it was in your honorable mention.
She is a girl of class, ladies and gentlemen, a girl of class.
I know Alex is thinking, Becky's got my back. Dean, fuck you.
He says that a lot.
Okay, so what's your number 3?
My number 3 is a movie that I'm surprised I haven't heard yet on your list.
Okay.
My number 3 is The Artist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I tried to pick movies that were new.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I absolutely love The Artist. If I wanted to be really biased, The Artist would have been my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Just one after the other because I love that movie so much. But I'm happy to hear that you like the movie.
I really, really did. The Artist was one of those experiences that I was so like surprised at how much I liked it, because I like silent movies.
Mhm.
I think I was watching like a bunch of Buster Keaton movies around the same time, some Chaplin movies. I think I had watched like Metropolis and Dr. Mabuse or whatever. So I was like into the whole silent movie thing, right?
Yeah.
And when we came upon The Artist, I'm like, okay, I'm going to see like a cheap knockoff of some of the like silent tropes, and it won an Oscar because, oh, look how pretty it is. Ooh, look, it's all artsy and shit. And it's just like a good movie. Like I watched it and I'm like, no, I'm like compelled. The acting in this is really good.
You were so mad that you liked it.
I was pissed. I was pissed that I fell into this whole like, oh, the beauty of old Hollywood and why like, the magic of cinema and the encroachment of sound, when before we had like pure artistic expression in the cinematic arts. And also the ending fucking slaps. I love the ending of this movie. This is one of those movies where like I, no joke, could watch the entire thing again in just for the last like fucking 15 minutes. Oh fuck, put that in my veins. Oh, I love that shit. I told you,
I went to go see this in the theater like 5 times. This is the only movie that I've gone back and bought movie tickets over and over just to see it on a big screen.
See, I've done that before, but it wasn't for like a movie that won any Oscars. It was for it was for Shutter Island. I went to see Shutter Island in the theater.
That doesn't surprise me.
Here's the thing, because I saw Shutter Island like at the AMC when it came out.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fucking I love this movie. I think it's because I was like at the right age where I can get into a movie like that and no one would care or whatever.
Mhm.
I'm like 14 and I looked 18. It was fine. So I saw it at the AMC like twice, and then I went to the Dollar Theater down the road, and I went like every fucking weekend, just like pump this shit into my veins. I want to see like how the twist comes in. But The Artist, this movie just fucking slaps from pillar to post. And I know that Yasmin is listening to this episode and thinking, Dean, why do you swear so much in your episode? Watch The Artist. This movie.
She's probably seen it.
Yeah, watch it again because this movie fucks. Oh, yeah. So I really dug The Artist. I know it's kind of a pretentious, like, oh, fucking Hollywood, blah, 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 sucking itself off. No, the movie's good. The movie's really, really good. I cannot wait for us to jump into next year so we can talk, I guess, like bearing the lead a little bit. We're going to talk about movies that inspired this movie. It's great. But what is your number 3 after I've finished gushing about The Artist?
Well, actually, we're jumping on to my number 2 movie.
Oh, your number 2 movie.
Because we just talked about, our number 3s.
The Artist got me tripping. All right, I'm sorry.
I know. You're so excited. You can't wait to go home and watch it again.
No, the next 2 movies are going to be movies I'm going to definitely go home and watch again. But what's your number 2?
My number 2 movie, I think you mentioned it on your honorable mentions again. That's what's kind of like, okay, some of the stuff that you wanted to talk about, I chose. But this movie kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't too sure about it when it was brought to us. This is a guest episode.
Okay.
It was Onward.
Onward. Okay.
It was such a fun episode, but the movie was just the feels and the emotions in the movie I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, because Onward came on. This was a guest episode from Ariel. And
best friend of the podcast.
Everyone has their own little titles.
They do.
But yeah, Ariel brought this on, and it had a fascinating little history because it was like one of the last movies to show up before the world shut down from COVID. Yeah. It was also one of those movies when I watched it, I'm like, Yo, somebody's been hanging around the house a little too often. All
Oh,
right,
oh, watching over game night.
this movie hit a little too close to home. All right,
Just a little bit.
a little bit, but yeah, I really dug Onward too. It was a really fun episode. I think it's the only episode Ariel did on the podcast where she maintained focus on the movie for more than like 20 minutes.
Wow, thrown stones already.
Oh, I have a little awards to give out to all of our guests, and Ariel has a very fun one. But yeah, Onward, I really dug Onward. I'm surprised it's your number 2. Was it
Yeah.
just one of those like feel good kind of vibe movies?
Feel good. I wasn't expecting the story to take the path that it did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, that feel good of, these two brothers. And it's, hey, I've always been there for you. I've always been your support system. And it's kind of like, it's like, it kind of parallels a support system that I have in my life with my grandfather. So I was just kind of like, that's interesting. That made my little Grinch heart grow 2 sizes way before Christmas.
Boo loves her little Grinch heart growing 2 sizes.
It caught me off guard, but yeah, I really love this movie. Thank you, A, for bringing this to the podcast. But what was your number 2 pick?
My number 2. Okay, so my number 2, my number 1. I had the worst time figuring this out because I knew they were gonna be my number 1 and 2. I could not figure out where they would land.
Mm-hmm.
So you can consider them almost interchangeable, but this is what I eventually ended up with. My
Okay.
number 2 is Singing in the Rain.
Wow.
In the episode we recorded, because
Mhm.
I went back and I listened to it, when we talked about it, I was like, oh, so we're going to talk about Dean's new favorite movie.
Yeah.
I literally said that. And yeah, Singing in the Rain is just so much fun. And it's one of those kind of movies where you just feel good watching it.
And I mean, we love letters to Hollywood.
Well, you adore them.
I do, and it's like
Some not all of them hit, 5-star ratings for me, but I enjoy a few.
you do, and I mean, this is like a massive love letter to old Hollywood.
Well, it's old Hollywood reflecting on even older Hollywood. It's almost the thing where Singing in the Rain and The Artist are almost like kind of companion pieces
Yeah.
a little bit. And Singing in the Rain, listening to it, every song is great.
Mhm.
Gene Kelly is amazing.
Debbie Reynolds.
Debbie Reynolds
is
is,
an icon.
awesome. Yeah, icon. O'Brien,
I know his name's Donald. I'm
Donald
sorry.
O'Connor.
There you go.
Donald O'Connor is funny as hell. It's one of those things where watching that movie from beginning to end, it's like, oh, you just got a smile on your face and you're just like feeling good. It's just a movie that makes you feel happy.
And it's beautifully shot too.
Oh, okay. The ballet sequence at there's 2 or 3 like dream sequence ballets in there. All of them are gorgeous. My sister absolutely hates the ending one, where it's Gene Kelly and Sid Cherie doing the
Mhm.
the cool like sexy ballet dance or whatever. My sister hates that, and I'm like, this is better than American in Paris. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm biased because I saw Singing in the Rain a lot sooner than An American in Paris,
Mhm.
but yeah, I feel like this is the stronger of the two.
Yeah, and it's also a thing where this movie technically I've seen it before, but I saw it before I was 5 years old. So it's almost this thing where watching it, I got to watch it like new.
Yeah.
Like I have no memory of the movie like at all, but as the movie started going, it's almost like you're sliding into like a warm blanket. Like, I've been out in the cold for a long time. It's kind of like I'm coming home. It was weird. It was weird. It was
And then you started tap dancing.
a little bit, I did some tap dancing, started singing, but it's kind of like when you watch certain movies, right, that you haven't seen in forever, and you basically forgotten everything about it, but it sits somewhere so like primordial in that weird lizard part of your
Mhm.
brain where once it starts going, your brain kind of starts filling in
Those
all,
gaps.
all those gaps and all those old emotions, and it's like going home again. And
Yeah.
that's what Singing in the Rain was like, and that's why I'm like, oh, it was almost my number 1 because it made me feel like I was going to my grandma's house again. It was wild.
Now I'm really interested to hear what your number 1 is.
Again, they were interchangeables, all right. But what is your number 1?
My number 1, I had to break my rules. I really wanted to do all new movies. I just couldn't do it because this movie means so much to me, and it was such a fun experience to record this movie and research it. It was Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Was that on your honorable mention list somewhere?
It was somewhere. I think Sunset Boulevard was like my number 11. Sunset Boulevard is the episode I think was probably our best discussion of the year. Just because we had somebody who has a master's in like literature come on,
and she had never seen the movie before, and she was able to pull it apart and pick piece by piece.
Because she showed up and she was like, I guess this is my new favorite movie. And she deep dived in on that movie for a while.
She did.
Yeah, but Sunset Boulevard is that's like, what is it, 5-star bona fide classic all time.
One of the best Hollywood, or one of the best movies ever.
That movie hitting 3-pointers from the back court for the rest of eternity.
Another love letter about Hollywood and the movie making system.
It's not even a love letter to Hollywood. It's this pessimistic, angry look at like the Hollywood system. And it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, fuck Hollywood. Yeah, but fuck, this is a good movie. Damn, this is a good movie.
But this was a guest episode with
Yasmin.
Yasmin, cousin of the podcast. This was her first episode on the podcast.
It was, and it was, again, it is one of those wild episodes where when we're watching it, or when we were recording it, every time we would jump onto a new thought or a new tangent about the movie, like every 5-10 minutes, and each one was deeper and more interesting than the last thing we talked about. Our only critique was Yasmin likes to talk on the Whisper channel. She's very intense.
She picked it back up for Blue Velvet.
She did. No, Blue Velvet, she came out angry. She came out hot and angry about David Lynch. But yeah, like Sunset Boulevard, great movie, great episode.
That is my favorite episode of the year. That is, I'm sorry, I will be biased because that is a movie that is near and dear to my heart. A guest that is also near and dear to my heart. But it just felt so perfect. That episode really felt perfect. That whole experience felt perfect.
Yes, not besmirching any other of our guests.
No, absolutely.
Every guest probably gave us like a solid 10 out of 10
I mean,
episode.
this was really hard, and that's why I wanted to do all guest episodes for our recordings, for my top 5 recordings of the year.
Oh, are those all guest episodes?
Only one of them isn't, Ed Wood.
Oh, I'm surprised. I didn't even realize that.
I wanted to do all of them being guest episodes because it was so much fun to have guests on and just, talk and hear it from a different perspective. Because it's just the two of us, and, we know each other well enough to know what we're going to think and how we're going to come out of a movie. But to have a third or a fourth party come in with us, and we have no idea where the day is going to take us, how they feel about this movie, how we're going to feel about this movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's like why we ended up doing more guest episodes this year. Most guest episodes we've ever done. We're probably going to try and top it next year.
I hope so.
But yeah, Sunset Boulevard is really that's the standard that all of our guest episodes should try and reach. The Lobster was our standard. We made every guest listen to The Lobster. I think almost half of them listen to and be like, yeah, we're kind of going for this vibe when you come on. Just have a lot of fun with it, enjoy the movie, things like that. But yeah, those great episodes, Sunset Boulevard.
Yes. And your number one, now that I think about it, I know what your number one is.
It's Ed Wood.
Yeah?
It's Ed Wood. It's a movie that makes me angry. That's my number one film of the year. But
you loved it so much. Ed Wood is your new favorite director.
Oh, God, because Ed Wood, like we said earlier when it was your number 4, was a hard episode to record, and we could have phoned it in. Honestly, we had enough that I could cut together a decent episode.
But we wanted to do Ed Wood justice.
Well, the thing is I went and I watched the Ed Wood catalog. Mm-hmm. I watched Glen or Glenda, Plan 9 from Outer Space, Bride of the Monster. I did a deep dive research on the man the movie is based on. Watched the movie a second time, and even then I'm like, no, this movie is just kind of perfect.
Yeah.
It's a thing where it's also Johnny Depp at this really heightened kind of, shucks, gee willikers, guys, where it's a fictionalized version of Ed Wood, but it's like, God, you really want that to be the real guy. You want this kind of go-lucky thing, and you have Martin Landau playing Bela Lugosi as this kind of washed up, kind of a sad sack, but he loves filmmaking. That's like the only thing keeping him going. You're like, I want this to be real.
And you have Ed Wood, who loves Bella, and he's like, I will do whatever I can to make him happy and to keep him on the screen because, if the audience has forgotten him, this audience right here hasn't.
And it's that beautiful thing. It's this love letter, not to like movies. It's
to filmmaking.
It's a love letter to filmmaking. The filmmaking that's not like glamorous and not like fun. It's the filmmaking of the worst director to have ever made movies, but the passion it requires to make movies.
And no matter how many times he gets knocked down by audiences, money backers.
Audience, backers, his friends, his wife, everyone around him telling him, it's, Ed, you're making shit. And he's like, yeah, but it's my shit.
Yeah, and I love my shit.
And that's kind of the beauty of the movie.
Yeah.
It is this might legitimately be Tim Burton's best made movie. It might, like, he made a lot of good movies or whatever, but this is like his most like humanistic, like, almost like mature kind of film. It might be Johnny Depp's most like his best performance. It's a really like beautiful movie, and I really, really dug it. Like, I was a huge fan of Ed Wood. I went out and I bought the fucking Blu-ray of this movie. This is the only one on the list that I went out and bought the fucking movie after we finished it.
Oh yeah, like immediately. I mean, after we left the studio, we went to go looking for this Blu-ray. We couldn't find it, and I think you had to buy it online, or?
No, I went to fucking Amoeba.
Oh, that's right.
I had to drive to fucking Hollywood. But yeah,
Worth.
100% worth. I have that sitting on my shelf now. But yeah, Ed Wood, 100% favorite movie of the year. I would recommend, granted, Ed Wood, Singing in the Rain, my number 1.5 movies of the year. Go see those movies right away. But yeah, those were our top fives.
Technically, top 10.
Top 10, combined top 10
yeah.
of our 2023. But we also had a lot of guests, so I wrote out some like little shout outs so everyone gets a little shout out because not everyone was mentioned.
And Dean likes to give awards.
I like to give awards. What do you want from me? So we're going to start with our most listened to guest, the MLG, the MVP, Mr. Alex. Oh, yeah, drum roll. Yeah, Mr. Alex, because he has the most minutes listened to as a guest because he did The Lobster, Zombie Island, Mummy, and Mummy Returns, and Under the Silver Lake. He has the most episodes of the year, and I think The Mummy is the most listened to episode we did this year.
Yeah.
It quite easily.
Quite easily, but The Lobster also did really well.
It is funny because The Lobster, I think, was the most listened to episode until we did the Mummy franchise.
Yeah, it did a shift, which was impressive, but I was really impressed with The Lobster. And I mean, yeah, it was a true thing where we were kind of approaching our guests with like, listen to this. This is the vibe. This is the style that we're going for. And then they'd be like, oh no, that was a great episode. So listen to The Lobster if you haven't listened to The Lobster yet.
It's a fun one. But we also have our next award for the most minutes on mic, because though Alex had the most episodes, he didn't talk the longest. That goes to the Iron Woman, Yasmin. You made me name her the Iron Woman.
I did.
But yeah, she has our longest episode of the year with Blue Velvet coming in at 113 minutes. That is the longest episode we have ever recorded. And she also did Sunset Boulevard, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Beetlejuice. And each one of those actually round her out to being like in the 4-5 hour range of on mic minutes recorded. So yeah, she got to talk a lot this year.
And we can't wait to have her back.
We cannot wait to have her back.
And Alex too.
Technically, she was supposed to have 2 more episodes this year.
Yeah.
And then she it was like, I already put my numbers in. I already showed what I can do.
No, we had some scheduling issues, but she will be back next year. And
yes,
more guests will be back next year as well.
So many more guests. But the next guest is our Deep Cut Samurai. The guest that brought us the deepest cuts, the weirdest films, the hardest to find. That'd be Brandon. He brought us The Stranger, Buck and the Preacher, and Pale Rider. movies we had never heard of before, seen before,
And we enjoyed them.
each and every one of them was like a 4 or 5-star movie.
Yeah.
Each and every one of them. Yes, he was able to find us some movies for our theme months that we didn't even think about,
Didn't even know about.
and each one was better than the last.
Yes.
So, Brandon, you get our Deep Cut Samurai Award.
And
Because
he loves
likes,
that. He loves that title.
he fucking loves samurai movies.
He does.
Kurosawa is his G. But now we have the Widest Range Award. Though Brandon was our deepest cut, there was one person who talked about the weirdest assortment of movies. And that goes to Randy,
Brother of the podcast.
the brother of the podcast. That's right, because, some of our, Brandon, he talked about a lot of Westerns. Yasmin liked her older films. Alex likes, weird movies, franchise movies, things like that. Randy talked about an animated movie in Pagemaster,
He did.
a foreign Russian film in Stalker, and a black and white American drama in Elephant Man. Each one of those more different than the last to prove that he has some refined taste. And he's a pretentious asshole, but that's besides the point.
I do not agree on that, but that is your brother, so
Yeah.
you guys could fight each other later.
But yeah, so he had the widest range. We could bring him in on almost any month we had an opening, and he could find a movie to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Which came in really handy.
It came in clutch.
Very. But for somebody who we could have brought in on anything to talk about anything except the movie, we have the most tangents in any episodes we recorded.
Drum roll.
Yes, that would be Ariel, because Crybaby, which is our 4th longest episode of the year at 96 minutes, we talked about the film Crybaby for 26 minutes. The other hour is of Ariel telling us about, and I wrote this down, Titanic, her date on Titanic, Onward, her favorite Little Mermaid song. The list goes on.
Hey,
Talks about how she used to love working at Fuji, how she liked sushi.
Hey, she hated working at Fuji, as did I.
Well, she liked you.
Oh, yeah. We like each other.
But yes, Ariel was able to talk about anything and everything except the movie this year.
And I feel like you two should both share that award because, you are the king of tangents.
It's fun.
That's why I'm like, you really want to be throwing rocks when, you go off on a tangent and it's like, Dean, where were we?
Well, yeah.
Especially when we're driving, like, Dean, really, where are we?
Well, yeah, but, at least Ariel's are funny.
Yes, she has very funny tangents. Best friend of the podcast. Hope to have her on more episodes next year.
Yes, but for next year, we have somebody who is waiting in the wings because he gives us nothing but epic episodes. And this is going to go to Thomas for having the most epic takes on any films he brings in, because he has 2 films in our top 5 longest episodes.
Yeah.
He has only done 2 films. That is Mulholland Drive and A Serious Man, each of them on over 100 minutes long.
Yeah.
He has the deepest takes, the longest tangents, and I feel he wants to be a lecturer of film. Because I'm not lying, Mulholland Drive is probably one of the most, detailed, introspective episodes we've ever done, because he goes hard as a motherfucker on that episode.
I mean, we regaled the movie.
Oh, yeah. He told us about almost every theory he could come up with, every thematic idea David Lynch probably could have brought on there. Mulholland Drive is a very, dense and deep episode.
Yeah.
What is it? The episode came out to 109 minutes. I'm pretty sure the raw recording was 2.25 hours. It was
Yeah.
over 130 minutes.
We were in here for a while.
We were in here for a while. So you guys got a very tight and focused episode. Thomas still had much more to say. But I cannot wait to get him on for next year, because we have a whole month that's almost tailor-made to get him to just go off, King.
We're never going to leave the studio.
We will never leave the studio, but somebody who didn't come to the studio enough. But when he did, he dropped the mic with the sweetest film of the year. No drum roll? Well,
ready?
Yeah. That is going to be Reggie with Dumbo.
Yes.
Which was in my honorable mentions. It is definitely the sweetest and nicest film we watched all year. He really came in with a deep love for the film. I want him to come back on, hopefully more than once this year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he was on a few of Lost episodes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yes, Reggie did come on with the sweetest film of the year.
And I think you'd never seen Dumbo before, right?
I had never seen Dumbo before. I'd heard a lot about it, and Reggie actually helped contextualize a lot of the reasons why Dumbo works.
Yeah.
It came out, it was a really good episode, and it's one of those movies that I think more people should watch and maybe listen to the episode to give some context on some of the weirder elements of it.
Mhm.
But there is like, it's interesting because Reggie really does have a deep love of the film for like all the good reasons you should love animated films, you should love Disney films, why that movie works. And it was like just such a sweet movie. It's such a sweet episode.
It was.
But the last award for the person with the least mic time, the I'm not even supposed to be here award, goes to our good friend Dylan, who on accident showed up to our Stranger recording, only vaguely knowing about the movie. He got dragged along with Brandon because I think they were going to hang out afterwards, and Dylan got to be on mic for a total of 7 minutes.
And it was hilarious.
And it was hilarious. He got to plug all of his stuff at the end of it without introducing himself once in the episode. But yes, Dylan got to...
It was just a disembodied voice.
It was a disembodied voice. He was the stranger of our Stranger episode.
Yes. But we hope to have him on for a real episode next year because Dylan is great.
Dylan is great. He is a independent filmmaker who makes a lot of movies, and he's also somebody who has very similar tastes to me, but has wildly different opinions. So I cannot wait to get him on next year. But yes, those were all of our guests this year, and all of like the fun things that they brought to the podcast.
And we can't thank our guests enough for coming out and spending time with us, but also bringing great films and, you know, letting us choose some of the films for them and just being able to have all these great experiences that we had this year.
Yes, and I'm really excited about bringing him on next year because I want to see more people try and get to the most, listened to guests, most minutes on mic. I want to see more wild takes. You're
turning into the Hunger Games.
A little bit. Well, I'll get them into a room and they'll fight to the death for our amusement. But yeah, also it's a thing where it's like so many of our guests brought great films, or they brought great takes, great opinions. Even people who came onto movies that they didn't like. Like Yasmin did not like Blue Velvet.
No.
And it was one of the most like engaging episodes we did this year. It's our longest. She shit on that movie, which was wrong. She has wrong opinions.
I don't know. I think she was pretty right.
Wrong. We had people come in who didn't even really know how to feel about the movie. Ariel came in on Crybaby, where she's like, I don't know why this movie you made me watch. It's like, okay. It's weird.
Hey, she didn't want to pick, so I picked for her. And then she came back with Onward, and she's like, yo, I'm going to show you a movie I like.
But yes.
And it hit me in the feels.
But yeah, so I cannot wait to get more of our guests in next year.
Likewise.
But now we could get into some of the questions that have been posed to us, I guess for the last week and a half when we finally decided we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So here's some questions. Is there an episode, theme, or movie you wish you could have done in the year 2023? I know my answer because we planned it out, but it fell through many times.
Tell me your answer because I have no idea.
The Justice League Snyder Cut. Because
that's right.
Because we wanted to do that when the Flash movie came out. Because the Flash movie was supposed to be like, this is the end of the DCU and this is going to be it. And the Flash movie came out and we thought it was good.
Yeah.
Or we thought it was fine at least, but it had a very polarizing reaction. It bombed horribly.
Yes, it did.
And we were like, oh, in our heads, we're like, we're going to capitalize. We're going to do Justice League the Snyder Cut. Dylan and Brandon want to come on so bad to talk about it and convert us to the Snyder Cut. They had notes ready to go, like 4-hour notes, and we could not for the life of us block out enough time to do it, nor could we figure out any reasonable way to put it into our release schedule at all.
Yeah, because I mean, The Flash was an episode that we did this year, but it was one of our Film Club at the Movie episodes, so it was like a 30-minute episode.
Yes, and it
So-
was a preview, so we
Yeah, it was
also didn't know if it was like that's the released version of the movie.
Yeah, we had no idea that we were going to make it into an advanced screening. So, if we had planned this, we would have had to have taken an entire month and dedicate it to the DC. So, DCU. So, yeah, I can see where that would be kind of a letdown that we didn't get to do. I'm trying to think if there was anything.
Would you like some lost episodes?
Well, I know you're itching to get to the graveyard.
Oh yes, because people know that we do a weekly podcast. Sometimes episodes just get lost in like file transfers. Sometimes the mics aren't picking up properly.
Mhm.
We work in a shared studio space
Mhm.
with other podcasts that come in, come out. Sometimes people adjust their microphones for their podcast and they don't reset it when we come in, and sometimes we miss it. And so we've lost some episodes for audio recording reasons. We've also lost episodes for quality reasons,
Yeah.
and we've lost episodes before we ever made them to screen. So off the top of my head, we have Place Beyond the Pines, Sweeney Todd, Twin Peaks, Scorpion King, What We Do in the Shadows, Suspiria, Cinema Paradiso, Maltese Falcon, Team America, World Police, and Mandy. That is our cinematic graveyard.
But like the great horror films, they can make a return.
They can make a return.
That hand might shoot out of the grave, and out of the graveyard that film is.
But is there any one of those that you wish we could have done this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Place Beyond the Pines, I wish we could have done that. Sweeney Todd, it was just
Scheduling is a
scheduling. Stuff happened, so
bitch.
but we never say never.
Suspiria was an episode we recorded entirely. We had a finished version of it, and at the end of it, I believe we said that's not a good episode, and we scrapped it and recorded Seven Samurai instead.
I think so. I think we jumped onto that. That was
Yes.
a monumental task. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Suspiria, like a 90-minute like vibe movie. Let's throw that away. Let's watch a 4-hour samurai epic. But yeah, Suspiria is one I wish we could have done, but that feels like a movie that we should do a double feature of with
Yeah.
Mandy. Just like vibe movies that are visually interesting,
Mhm.
that plots, loose,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. But yeah, so we also have another question here. Is there a movie or theme that you will never, ever do?
I think it would have to be something, like really bad, like offensive, like
I mean, like disturbing cinema will never do anything
Yeah.
like that. But like, there's like certain themes we'll not go back to that we've done before. Hashtag camp movies or
Yeah.
summer camp movies.
Yeah, I mean, we love campy movies, but yeah, when we did, I think that was like in our first full year.
Yeah, where it had like heavyweights, Addams Family Values.
I mean, it was movies that we love, but it just turned into a thing where it was just really hard to break those down and turn them into an entire episode.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's certain themes we probably won't return to. Like a lot of comedies are hard to talk about.
Because you just want to kind of recite the bits.
Yes, that was the problem with Mel Brooks movies that we did this year, Young Frankenstein, Blazing
Mhm.
Saddles, because they turned into us talking about, man, this movie's so funny. Remember this part? Remember that
Mhm.
part? Where, yeah, like we love those movies. They're super funny, but they're hard to really break down and kind of talk in a very like analytical way.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't look at a Mel Brooks month anytime soon, mostly because we talked about like a lot of his best movies already.
Yeah. Even though we love him.
Oh yeah, no, I adore Mel Brooks, but like a lot of like straight comedy months are shaky. They would have to be like guest episodes who had like new takes on them.
Yeah, something that we could really, pick apart the movie and we have 3 or 4 minds working on versus R2.
Yes, and any disturbing cinema just not gonna happen.
Yeah, nothing offensive, nothing gross, nothing horrific.
That's why you cut out Team America.
I mean, that was just at a bad time. The world was at a shaky place when we recorded. I'm like, you know what? We don't need that on our.
We didn't even record it. You were watching the movie. You got to the part where what is it when the doll poops on the other doll and you're like, no, Dean, we're not finishing this movie. This is not an episode anymore.
I don't even
Good
think I
day.
made it there yet.
You didn't make it that far?
I don't think I did.
Where? Oh my god. You should actually finish watching Team America World Police. That movie's funny. It is offensive, but it is very funny.
Maybe someday, maybe.
But on that note, what is the worst movie that you saw this year? Because we've seen some like bad movies. We've seen some disappointing movies. I think The Flash ended up being a little disappointing. There's also like Renfield. That movie was pretty good, but it's disappointing how like when it got released and everyone finally saw it, it's disappointing about like how that turned out.
Does it have to be something we recorded or just something that we watched this year?
I have the worst movie we saw this year as the one we recorded, but do you have one you watched this year?
I have one that I watched that we didn't record because I was pretty content with the movies that we watched this year on the podcast. So it's like I'm trying to, dig around and feel like, man, was there like a bad one that we recorded?
I have the bad one we recorded.
Go ahead.
The Mummy. Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Ooh, yeah, that was pretty bad.
The one that missed the franchise the most, the one that was the most disappointing, the one you wished was better than it actually was, the one where the effects aged the worst.
But you know what I'm struggling is because the episode was actually good.
The episode was super fun because we got to kind of trash on it, and it reminded us why the first two worked so well. Why The Mummy Return worked so well.
Yeah, but I mean, we also were able to, talk about production and talk about what could have been and what would have happened after Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. So the episode was a lot of fun. It was just getting through the movie was a rough experience.
But do you have I guess if you're content with all the episodes, what's the worst movie
I saw this year?
Yeah, what's the worst movie you saw this year?
Do you have one apart from
Oh yeah, because again, I've told everyone a lot. I watched a movie every day for the entire year of 2023. Yeah. It was a bitch and a half. But I got a few like on my Letterboxd are like 1 stars, like that should be 0 stars, but Letterboxd won't let me do that. But yeah, I have a few bad ones. But what's your bad one?
Mine was I think the title's right. Hopefully it's right. But it's The Haunting of the HMS Queen Mary.
The Haunting of the Queen Mary.
Yes, I watched it on Hulu because it was there, a free movie. And yeah, it was just bad. I mean,
it was bad. You look like you're about to cry.
Because I love the Queen Mary so much, and it was exciting because they actually filmed it on the ship. And this was during the pandemic, so
so it's like empty.
Empty. And I'm like, this is the perfect time to do a ghost story film on the Queen Mary. And it was just like, there were so many possibilities, so many different ways you could have taken this.
Was it like just super generic? Was it like just not well acted? Was it like a found footage, like junkie movie?
It's just bad, man.
It's just bad, man.
It's just bad, man.
You're like, I can't articulate how bad this movie was.
You need to watch it so you could just be like, so of all the history, of all the things that have happened on this ship, this is the way we're going to take it?
Jesus. Oh, God.
But what about you? What was one of the worst ones you watched in your 365 Iron Man?
My Iron Man film watching reviews. I would say, okay, so there's like 3 or 4 that I know that are just awful, like fucking awful movies. Like Hellraiser Revelations, I think. That movie, yeah, Hellraiser Revelations, that is probably legitimately the worst horror sequel ever made. It is ugly. All the acting is pretty bad. It's the one that Doug Bradley refused to come back to. Pinhead refused to return to Hellraiser.
It's pretty bad, man.
It's pretty bad. And they cast a different guy who's trying his level best, but he's just not fucking Doug Bradley. And that movie is offensive.
How long did it take you to finish all the Hellraiser movies?
I watched one. Actually, no, because I watched like the first 3 or 4 in a day. So it took me like a week to watch all of them. Because I had a week off of work for like my birthday or whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to watch Hellraiser. Fuck it. I've always wanted to watch like a whole like the whole horror franchise. And it ties in with like going into Halloween. I usually watch like a horror franchise every year. I did like Friday the 13th. I did Halloween. I did, no, I still need to do Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street is going to be my 2024. But Hellraiser gets so awful the longer it goes on. That movie is the worst. I think it's like the legitimately worst movie that tried to have a plot I've seen all year. I've seen movies that don't have plots that are awful. Wavelength is just terrible. That movie's just boring as sin, but it wasn't offensive. Zardos has a plot. It's insane, but at least it's trying, and Sean Connery is doing something in there. But yeah, Hellraiser Redemption or Hellraiser Revelation is probably the worst movie I've seen all year. But what is your favorite event you've gone to this year to try and make everybody feel better?
Yeah, because we didn't go to as many events, but we still did some fun things this year.
Well, we did a lot more like sneak previews for movies. We did a lot more convention. Well, we didn't do more conventions. We did a lot more sneak previews. We did more premieres. We did more things related to going to the theater.
Yeah, we went to Not Scary Farm. That was fun. We got to go with the best friends of the podcast.
We got to do Barbenheimer. That was fun.
We did do Barbenheimer. That was actually on my list. Seeing Oppenheimer at the Chinese Theater. That was our first time ever being there, seeing it on the massive screen.
Hearing the projector and the echo in the back of the theater, and you're like, oh, I'm in an old building. Ooh, damn.
Barbie, yes. Barbie was a whole era.
Barbie changed your life?
Barbie changed my life, yeah. I'm a different person now. It's weird.
You wear a lot more pink now.
I don't, but in my heart I do.
Oh, yeah. Also we did the red carpet premiere for
Dungeons and Dragons. That was our anniversary.
Yeah,
that was my anniversary gift to you.
Yeah, that was a red carpet premiere for Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. That one was super fun.
Our anniversary at Warner Brothers, where we got to walk the back lot.
We did. We got to walk the back lot of Warner Brothers. We did some conventions. We got to meet Sam Raimi and Elvira at Son of Monsterpalooza.
Yeah, that was something. We do Midsummer Scream. That's become kind of our tradition. We do that yearly. Unfortunately, they didn't do season screaming this year. So, I think Monsterpalooza was at least my number one.
Yeah, our Son of Monsterpalooza is definitely my number one.
Son of Monsterpalooza, yeah.
Yeah, because meeting Sam Raimi was like the coolest experience ever.
You met Sam and Ted and...
both the women of The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one was like super fun. He was like the nicest human being I've ever met.
Yeah.
He signed all my stuff. He talked to me for like 15 minutes about like making movies and about how it's like, hey, you make movies, you do podcast, you can keep it up, all this other stuff. He was super cool.
And the fact that you kind of technically worked together with him on Doctor Strange.
Yes, I did. I built the gates that are on the Sancta Sanctorum in Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. So when you see those, I cut those and somebody else put them onto the set, but I made those gates. But yeah, that was like really, really cool. But we went to a lot of cool events, a lot of cool premieres. We went to the movies a lot this year.
We did.
We went to see we went to see a bunch of stuff.
We lived at the Frida.
We did. This question is basically a good way to plug our Instagram, because though we talk about movies every week on this podcast, 90% of the stuff that we do is not talked about on the podcast. You should follow us on Instagram or social media, because we do a lot of events, a lot of signings. There's always like more pictures, more info, more stories.
Yeah, more into who we are. Us freaking out about meeting Elvira and Sam Raimi. Mm-hmm. That was a monumental moment.
Very. But let's see. We've been in here for a good minute. So let's get to the last question I have here. What are your goals for next year?
Podcast-wise, right?
Podcast-wise.
All right, because I don't like to set, New Year's resolutions or anything. I know you set one for yourself, and you did it.
Yeah, watched a movie every day for the year of 2023. Will I do it again next year? Fuck no. Oh my God. This was a massive pain in the ass, and I feel I've wasted a lot of my life on this. The Hellraiser movies fall off dramatically after the fourth one, guys. I don't think you understand how much life I lost watching Hellraiser. And Zardos. Zardos was a waste of time. But yeah, no, there's some goals for next year for the podcast.
Yeah, I think my number one goal is, and it's probably going to be one of yours, definitely more guests on the podcast.
More guest episodes, more mic time for our guest, a lot more just like different perspectives.
Yeah,
is good.
We started off this year with the concept of we're going to do more guest episodes and let's see where it takes us. Let's see how we do with this.
And it ended up we're almost like a third of our episodes were guest episodes.
Oh yeah, it turned into a thing where, I love recording with you. I love talking to you because this is very much who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're listening to us right now, this is very much a conversation that we could just be having in the car, over lunch, over dinner.
We talk about movies constantly.
Our relationship is built on movies. So this is who we are, but it was so great to kind of open that door and see, hey, this podcast is a lot better with more people in it. It's like, I love, our guests, our friends that have come on and just made this podcast better than what we started with.
Oh yeah, and that goes into a lot of how we're structuring next year.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not going to be a weekly podcast for next year. We'll be almost a weekly almost. So yeah, basically having to record and edit these so close together, it is a massive pain.
It's a task.
It's a task and it's a lot of work. So we're going to structure our release schedule a little differently next year to allow us more time to schedule people to get more guests onto the episodes, and also to give us a break, people. We've done over 150 episodes now. I know we've done over 100 episodes.
Yeah. I think we are. Yeah, we're over like 180.
We're closing in on 200 episodes. You guys have a lot of back catalog to look at. Even if you don't look at our first year, which is super rough, you have a lot of episodes to listen to. So we're just gonna give a little breathing room so we can record, instead of 80 episodes of 2023, maybe a good 62 or a
2024
or a good 2024, a good 50 something. But yeah, so that's why that's going to be next year, is a lot more guests, and our release schedule is going to reflect that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking very much forward to next year.
Oh, me too. And I mean, apart from us having more guests, I'm excited to just go on more adventures next year.
Oh yeah, more premieres, hopefully, more events.
Now that the strike is over, premieres are back, so it's I'd love for us to get back into going to premieres, and then that'll be on our Instagram where you guys can see us, hopefully on the red carpet, just kind of having that experience of seeing it with, a good audience. Because, I mean, we got to go see Dungeons & Dragons, and that was a great experience because everyone was so hyped and excited.
We also had so many tickets for premieres, and then the strike happened, and it's
yeah.
Oh, shit. Because a lot of premieres just got canceled.
They did. I mean, that's part of, the rules of this game, so I'd really wish that we'd gotten into the Barbie premiere. I tried, and I just couldn't get those tickets.
I know. It's the same with Oppenheimer.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, next year is going to be a lot of fun. And I guess before we close out, do you want to give anyone a sneak preview of some of the things we're doing next year?
Yeah, I mean, every year we try to, change the game, change the formula a little bit.
We always try and do different themes, different episodes.
Yeah, this way it doesn't become, too routine. So to start off next year, 2024, we're going to be talking about silent films.
Yes.
We've only done this once.
Twice, because Count of Dr. Caligari.
Oh, that's right, Caligari.
Also, Count of Dr. Caligari, low-key one of our worst episodes. I'm just throwing it out there.
It was all right.
See, that's the thing. It was all right, but
yeah.
The problem is Count of Dr. Caligari is a more historically interesting and relevant movie than it is very entertaining. I like Count of Dr. Caligari, but it's not fucking Lawrence of Arabia, guys. I'm sorry.
But yeah, we're gonna kick off next year with silent films. We're gonna focus on some of the greatest silent films of all time, and just kind of talking about how these movies and how these pioneers have gotten us to where we are today.
Yes, we are going to also try and have some guests on those episodes, but we're also going to try and do more directors next year. We're going to do some more actors. I know one director we have locked in, because goddammit, I insisted on it.
Yes.
Because one of our guests said, please, God, please let me be on this so I can talk longer than the movie itself.
Yeah.
And that's going to be Stanley Kubrick month.
So, Yasmin, you have your homework cut out for you. You got to talk longer than Thomas next year.
Good luck to you. May your, what is it in Hunger Games? It's
may the odds ever be in your favor.
May the odds forever be in your favor. But
I
yeah.
think that was the list. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched Hunger Games.
But yeah, so Kubrick month is locked in. We're definitely do silent films.
We're doing silent films. 1 month that we're both excited. Our guests that we've talked about bringing on for this month are excited. Hollywood epics.
Yes, because I love long movies.
Oh, I know.
I love like 3-4 hour long movies, just like real hefty films. I know you like scope. You like big movies.
Yes.
But our guest fucking adores epics. He wants to come on, talk about basically his favorite films ever made, because
Yeah.
they're all over 4 hours long, and
Yeah.
most of them are based on the Bible. But yeah, Epics Month is a big one we're looking forward to. I think we're still working on if we're gonna bring back Animation Month.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. Started as Anime Month, and it got me into Studio Ghibli movies, different forms of anime. Perfect Blue, which I really loved.
I want to go back and do some more Satoshi Kon soon.
So that's why it's like, animation's it's still there. It's floating. We're still working on our schedule, but those are some of the themes and directors that we're thinking of bringing on to next year.
Hopefully each one will have at least 2 or 3 guests on each episode, or on for each month.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're looking forward to for next year.
And I think, before we close it out, we have to thank you guys for being there and listening to us on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, whether you just found us or you've been with us since the beginning. We thank you.
Yes, we like to thank every single listener who makes us want to come into the studio. We'd probably still record even if you weren't listening, but man, you really make this less sad. But yeah, thank you every single person subscribing to us on YouTube, who comes back to Spotify and follows us. Everyone who follows us on Instagram,
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts.
Man, we're really sliding into the ending salvo. But yes, thank every single one of you for listening to us.
And thank you.
And thank you
for editing our episodes, researching, being the mic piece.
The mic piece, I see. Well, thank you for running all of our social media. Thank you for running literally all of our scheduling, booking every studio space we go to, and booking all of our guests.
Well, 2023 is in the can.
And now we look forward to 2024. And with that,
we'll see you next year at the Film Club.
Have a good year, everybody.